Hi guys, how are you? Myself Deepika and I'm a current student at James Cook University Brisbane campus, and today we will be talking about a country which is very less known, and it is one of the poorest countries in the Pacific region. And as we see, since we are in Australia, since we are here in Australia, we will start from here, and after quite zooming in onto the northeast of the world map, we can see a country named Solomon Islands. There are a group of islands over here on the world map. So we will be talking more about the history first, and we will learn about from where it all started. So the first point of contact with the local people had was with Europeans, and it was in 1568 when a Spanish explorer, Alvaro de Mendana, visited the region, and it was rumored that there was a lot of gold mines in the country, and due to which all the people surrounding the country, the British and even the Germans started visiting the country in search of the gold. Islands is named after the King Solomon, who was one of the third and the last kings of Israel. It was also believed that during his reign, it was believed that it was the golden period of Israel, and hence also it was the islands were named after him, and that's how it is called Solomon Islands. Getting back to the history, as I mentioned, that it was rumored that there were gold mines in the country, and as soon as the fact was out that it has gold mines in it, there were a lot of people who started visiting the country. Spain had carried out the search operation twice in search of gold, but they did not find anything during their search operations, and after having no outcome of their searches, they called it quits, and they somehow cancelled. They stopped their search operations, and somehow the rumors started to die. During the years of 1893, it was believed that the UK government had established its own territory in the islands, and whereas on one hand UK was trying to gain control over the islands, and on the other hand even the Germans were also trying. There was a point when both of the countries were so into conflict with each other over the territory that they at a point decided to come to a common point. They thought of dividing the parts, dividing the territory, and took half. The British took half of the part, and majority of the west part of the country was under the German rule. During their agreement, it was believed that UK had extended their power over the nine main islands, which are now part of Solomon Islands, whereas Buka and Bougainville became part of Germany's New Guinea, which is in today's time it's called Papua New Guinea. During the year of 1788, Britishers had made their own colony in Sydney, whereas on the other hand even the people of Germany were looking for laborers, due to which their Solomon Islands caught their attention, and where they thought that the laborers would be cheap in Solomon Islands, and they started taking the laborers from Solomon Islands, and due to which there was a conflict between the Britishers and the Germans regarding their own power over the island. And since Germans thought that Solomon Islands were the perfect place for them to get their laborers, since they wanted intending to get free laborers from Solomon Islands, for which they used to forcefully take them out of their country and move to their own country in Germany, where they would make them work. As the years passed, the Germans thought that it is not feasible for them to take the laborers, because they were investing in a lot into that country. It was sort of an exchange offer between both the countries, where some of the land was taken by Britishers, and so that they can have some of the land which was under the Germans rules, and they have to but give away some of the land to Germans as well. And also during that time, even France was quite interested in Indochina area, and they were also looking after new countries or new regions to have their control over. So what Britishers thought that now that the Germans have calmed down a bit and they have let go of some of the parts of the country, the people from France should not now replace the Germans, and they have a conflict with them again. So being afraid of that point, the Britishers announced, they had made it clear to the world that they have colonized the Solomon Islands, and they do not want any other interference of any other country. They had announced and made it clear that that's their country. Moving forward, when the Solomon Islands were completely under the control of Britishers, the Britishers never thought about the welfare of the people in the islands, but they always thought about their own profit, or they always focused on collecting taxes and getting their work done from the people of the Solomon Islands as their laborers, and if somebody is not cooperating with them, they would punish them. And that's what all they have been doing it with the people of Solomon Islands. Now again, moving forward, during the October month of 1927, some of the Britishers were moving Maletta, and they were going for the purpose of collecting taxes from there as their usual thing. And during that process, the people from Solomon Islands were so frustrated and fed up from the British officials that they attacked them during their journey, and in that conflict around 15 people died, including the British officer which was leading the pack. After the attack on their own officials by the local people of Solomon Islands, the Britishers were quite furious on this, and they sent their whole army to defend themselves, which also included Australian officers and also some of the army people from Maletta. During their defense, there was a lot of killing, and the women were raped. The young children were killed, and the people of Solomon Islands who were not able to save themselves tried to save their children and asked them to hide inside the forest. All these incident is also known as Solomon Massacre, and even until today, the remuneration for this incident is still going on, and the people are still demanding compensation for these events until now. So moving again forward, in 1939 the World War II had started, wherein out of all these conflicts, when the Britishers had also participated in World War II, wherein in that response Japan had tried to take control over Solomon Islands, due to which there was a war between both the countries. When the World War II ended, the two major outcomes of the war to World War II were that the Allied countries won the the World War II. And as we also know that after World War II, even UK was quite affected with being in state of war, and it had limited resources, and also due to which the UK removed power from a lot of countries. And after seeing all of these changes going on in the world, even there was a protest going on in the Solomon Islands for freedom, as you know it, and due to which the UK, the Britishers, also removed their power from the Solomon Islands. And on 7th July 1978, the Solomon Islands gained their independence as a own country. Now talking about the political overview of the country, the system of government in Solomon Island is in such a way that the national parliament comprises of 50 members in the elected every 4 years by the members of the parliament, and also the prime minister of the country is elected by simple majority. And during the last elections, which were held in 2019, after the voting system and after the elections, the prime minister was elected, and he led the democratic coalition government for advancement. And during his tenure, he gave recognition, he acknowledged China over Taiwan. There was an internal conflict between the people of the country and the prime minister and the government, I would say. And since people in Maleta, which has the most population in all of the country, had a conflict on this matter with the government, and refused to accept the changes that the prime minister had introduced, as working and getting into trade with China. The people of Maleta were quite concerned about the behavior of Chinese over them. They thought that since in China there is no democracy, and it is only a communist party which has dictatorship on its people, and they do not want China to interfere into their internal matters, and maybe in future they behave in the same way as they behave in their own country, and they try to dictate them and impose rules and regulations according to them. So they were against this. So Maleta has always had an inclination towards Taiwan rather than China, because they never liked the way the Chinese government works. And even during the COVID years, even during the COVID time, Maleta asked for help from Taiwan, and they did not prefer China at all. And so the point of discussion for today's topic is why Solomon Islands, because I think Solomon Islands is quite active on still active on the conflicts that have been going on since years in the country. And recently in November, and even today, the conflicts are going on in the country. And there was one incident where the protesters burned down some of the temples, and there was a lot of violence going on based on religion, and even the political institutions, and they were burning down the institutions, and due to which the prime minister had issued a lockdown of 36 hours, and also to control down the violence that is going on in the country. So looking at all the conflicts going on in the country, the prime minister requested the Australian government to interfere into the matters and try to resolve the conflict that is going on in the country. And also the prime minister issued a statement comparing the situation, the current situation of the country, to a situation which was long back during the years of 1998 to 2003, where there was a lot of conflict going on basis of the religion and even the territory conflicts. So Australian government sent their 100 army men for bringing the peace into the country. And during this mission, to an extent the peace was maintained into the country. After a while, when the central government cut off their ties with Taiwan, the conflicts started to rise again. At last, I would like to discuss that due to all these conflicts going on between the state government and the central government, the state government of Malta is asking the prime minister to give his resignation because even after being elected 4 times, the situation of the country has not improved significantly or at all, I would say. And the regular conflicts based on religion, the caste and the territory matters is still remaining in the country, and it is not solved until date. And on the other hand, the Sogavari, that is the central government, is very firm on his decision that he will not give up his position as the prime minister, and he will try to find out who is behind all these protests. So the question is whether even after all these conflicts, will the Solomon Island, the prime minister will request Australian government again for resolving the conflicts going on in their own country. And if we compare why Australia is the very much sought country for resolving the conflict, because Australia and Solomon Islands have really good relations economic wise, because they have a very deep and long standing relationship, and they have been with the Solomon Islands, and Australia has been with Solomon Islands, supporting them in every aspect of their country, be it infrastructure, private industry, be it their education, health, justice, society, and development in any area of the country. And also I would say in the policy making or governance. So Australia really plays an important role. And also Australia is one of the most important economic partner of Solomon Islands, and it is also one of the largest development partner of Solomon Islands. And this is why the Prime Minister seeks advice from the Australian government to intervene into their conflicts. And so lastly, I would say that in today's country brief, we have discussed about the history of the country of Solomon Islands. We have discussed the political aspect as well, and we have also discussed about the military aspect of the country. And I would say there are still a lot of factors to be discussed. It is still very active with the changes that are going on in the country over the years. And I hope that you found the video quite informative and you had a fair bit idea of what Solomon Island is and what the history is all about. Thank you for watching.